It being 7:07 on Wednesday, December 18th, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Is anyone here for public comment? You come forward, sir.
You want me to sit?
Yeah, if you don't mind, there's a microphone right there with the green light.
Okay.
That,
Do you want me to pick the microphone?
no, you can just sit there and it'll capture your voice. If you could state your name and your address though.
Yep. My name is Paul R. Daly. I live on 130 Summit Street on Bernard Hill. And 40 years ago, I married Joanne Dentino, who's sitting in the front row. And I've lived there for 40 years. Joanne has lived there her entire lifetime. And in 40 years, I've been able to park in front of my house. As you can see, I'm handicapped. I have a handicap placard. And I'm not speaking for everybody that got a parking warning the other day, but there were many, many people that did. And all throughout the town. And all I can say for myself is that we have always been good neighbors to the town. We have kept our sidewalk clear, especially during inclement weather. It's always been shoveled right away. The walkway has been always shoveled all right away. Access to oil deliveries and everything else has been done so they can be made, or mail carriers, delivery people, you name it. So for 40 years, I've been able to park in front of my house. And it was upsetting. I know it's a warning, but it was upsetting that, it was called a parking warning, okay? And maybe my right wheel was 6 inches, over towards the sidewalk, but certainly wasn't any more than that. Joanne's car was parked in the driveway, and her front end was, I don't know, 6, 8 inches, Joanne? Yeah, and she got a warning too, so not only is this unbelievable, but the week before Christmas is amazing too, so I'm disappointed in the town. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Is anyone else here for public comment? Okay, step forward, sir. How many people are here for public comment? Okay, hi.
My name is Lyle Crowley. I live at 192 Walnut. I, like so many others, received a warning that I was parking on the sidewalk. There is no sidewalk in front of 192 Walnut. I find this concerning, though somewhat arrogant, that I would get a warning for parking on the sidewalk when there is none. I went down to the police station, talked to some folks around town, and it wasn't difficult to figure out what was going on. There's been pressure from what I'm told, is by Sean Kerrigan to put pressure on the police force to because they haven't been writing enough tickets. This is, again, I don't know if you call it hearsay, but this is what I've been told by many folks. I consider this somewhat of a poor chance, realistically, because those of us who live in this town that are fortunate enough to have and wealthy enough to have driveways aren't affected by this. The people that are hurting the most financially in these times are the ones that are getting these tickets, that are getting these warnings. And it's disgusting. It's wrong. And it's frankly unbelievable that this would happen. Like I said, there is no sidewalk in front of my house, yet I'm getting warnings for this. I don't understand this. It's shameful that the town is doing this. Um, But
Okay.
I just wanted to say my piece, say it's disgusting. And, you know, we all have the right to vote. And there's an old English saying, suffragium e tyrans, vote out tyrants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, if you guys want to queue up. Who else, if you want to queue up and come on up? Okay. Name and address, please.
Andrew Goddard, 126 Summit Street, Clinton, Massachusetts. Given that there are a number of people lined up behind me, I will shorten what I was planning to say beforehand for the courtesy of time. Simply put, as you've heard before, I've parked my car in front of my house ever since I've owned it. Yesterday, woke up with a parking warning. What's considered a sidewalk in front of my house is not much of a sidewalk, if I could say that frankly. And I'll echo what has been said today, and will probably be said again, that I do not think this is the right course of action from the town, given that the role of the town is to better the state of its citizens and the usability of the town. And that is all I'll say.
Thank you. What was the address?
126 Summit Street.
126 on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go serve next.
My name is Bill Martin. I live on 28 Highland Street. And I've lived there for 32 years. I even repaved and redid the front sidewalk. And I've been parking there for 30 years. I get up one morning and I see the red ticket on it, 12.22. He comes by and gives me a ticket for a sidewalk violation. And it's not a warning, it's a straight up ticket. Least I could do is get a warning. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've gotta either have, because I had it paid, it was legally paid. I don't know why he decided to. Maybe I was a little bit on the sidewalk, but I paved the sidewalk. You know, because the trees had it all blown to pieces. I had it all repaved. I don't know why I would get a ticket after 30 years. And that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for your comment.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Maribel Quispe. Address is 101 Beacon Street. And just as the gentleman here, I've been there for like 20 years, never had a ticket before. There is enough space for a car to park, and also usually I leave enough space for people to walk. And my ticket, I got a ticket for $20 stating that I was parking on the sidewalk. I don't know what that came from. There was enough space for people to go by. And I just think that, again, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's the purpose behind this. I've been told that it's because they want to make the town of Clinton look at Cambridge. I mean, we, workers here, Milltown for many years. So I would like to know, like, what's the purpose, and if there's gonna be a solution, an agreement, what is gonna be.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
comment. You go first.
How you doing? My name is Wilfredo Melendez. I live at the end of Beacon Street, 189 Beacon Street. I've been at that address for 10 years to be exact. There is no sidewalk. There's about 50 feet of sidewalk on that entire hill. And it's at the top of the very hill, which I really wouldn't call it a sidewalk. It's just a cleared piece of pavement or piece of concrete. Everyone on my street has gotten a warning. I did not get a ticket, but from my understanding, if you guys want to make the town better, letting people know what's going on prior to just start warning people or punishing people for things that you guys want, right? Where I park, I have two vehicles, fairly sized vehicles. It is literally adjacent to the road. So that's kind of about it for me. I know everybody has what their piece to say, so if you guys do want to do changes, make sure it's right for the town, what's right for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Albany, Seattle. I live on 122 Grove Street. The reason I'm here is because not only got the warning, I did get tickets for me and my tenants. So, for what I got told, because I have a little patch of a sidewalk, so, they're saying, hey, you can't park there, and when it comes winter ban, you can't park there. So I've been living in that house since 2008, and it's kind of hard that you and your tenants, they say, hey, you can't park there or you're getting a citation. And I just think it's like, as having a driveway for only two vehicles, having a building for three apartments, even if you have one vehicle per apartment, still have one vehicle more that has to be on the park and on the road. So it makes it very hard having that street that only has 3 feet of sidewalk to punish through the whole entire, the building right next to me has 6 apartments and their driveway only holds 4 cars. So 2 of their tenants park right in front of their house and they're also getting tickets. So we can park on the top of the hill because of the winter ban. So at that point is no one could park on the street, on the sidewalk, so we're getting punished for having a vehicle. I mean, hey, I know it's a small town, we got those buildings, but being there for so many years now, getting these tickets, the tenants are kind of asking me for questions, so now I'm here asking the questions that my tenants are asking me for. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I don't know if there's anyone else.
Yeah, anyone else here for public comment? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, I would just like to say, I mean, I know there is some concern when there's snow, and I can understand that, but having lived in Clinton my entire life, and we are a small community, a very closed community, and I can sympathize with these people, and I really, there aren't many places that you can park if you can't park in front of your homes. Our winter's fortunately, becoming less dramatic. We're getting less snow. I would love to see, us back to what we did before. Just let these people be. When there's storms, I think it's a different situation, and I think they would adhere to whatever decisions the town made that we thought was, better for the plowing, because you do have to understand that plows, if there's cars there, they have to go around them. It's a little bit more difficult, but I guess my position is I have to agree with these people. I don't think it's something that really needs to.
Okay,
That's all I have to say.
thank you. Well, since this topic isn't on the agenda, we'll move forward, but thank you all for your feedback and for coming out and expressing your concern. Next on the agenda is a review of minutes.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes from December 4th, 2024. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 4-0. Next on the agenda is the joint meeting for the planning board vacancy appointment. Unfortunately, due to a violation for an oversight of the open meeting law, and it not being posted in the proper areas, we have to postpone this joint meeting. So we'll postpone it to our next meeting, which I think due to we usually meet the first and the third Wednesday. First is the New Year's Day, so it'll probably be, I think, the 8th. Let me check my calendar.
Right. January 8th.
Would be January 8th. So apologies for everyone who has come for that, but want to make sure we are following open meeting law properly. Next on the agenda is a joint meeting for the Bigelow Library Board of Trustees vacancy appointment. Are the library trustees here? And we have a vacancy currently on the board, and we, due to the resignation of Colby Armstrong. And we have, two people who have expressed interest in that vacancy appointment.
May
I believe do you have their names, Gloria? I believe I have to state their names publicly. Uh,
Yeah, their name, well, first of all, good evening. On behalf of the Library Board of Trustees, would you like to know everyone's name? May I introduce us?
yeah, why don't you do that?
So I'm the chairperson, Gloria Parkinson. Do you need addresses fed into the record or not?
Pardon?
Do you need addresses?
I would give your address. Yes, please.
90 Haskell Avenue. This is Jacqueline McGuire.
300 Greeley Street.
This is Marty Shaughnessy.
From 30 Nelson Street.
And this is Francisco Ramos.
12 Market Street.
And we have a missing person who was away on a business trip tonight.
Understood. So we've had two people express interest.
Yes, we have,
Mercedes Kiss
yes, Miss Kiss
and
and Mr. Evans, Mr. Jacob Evans.
Jacob Evans.
Yes. And I believe that everyone on the select board has copies of those letters of interest too.
We do.
And again, it is our understanding that it is the the select board that makes the appointment. And if you desire input from the trustees, is that correct in terms of? And so we have discussed the matter at our meeting, at 5 o'clock meeting immediately prior to this meeting. And we do have a recommendation, if that is of the select board's, it's an appropriate way to proceed.
Yes.
Well, first of all, we want to say for the record, these are two excellent candidates, both of them. And we had a really, really difficult time to come up with a recommendation for one over the other. And so we just want for the record, they are both exceedingly strong candidates, and we would be thrilled if we could just have two positions, we put them both on. But it is one position that goes from tonight and then runs until the election of June 2025, when whoever is appointed will run, as will the other members of the board who are up to either step down or to be re-elected. So it is a short-term appointment for the next 6 months. As I say, we have spent quite a long time discussing this prior to the meeting. And we would like to recommend Miss Kiss, Miss Mercedes Kiss. We would also like to say that both candidates came to library trustee meetings. Miss Kiss came in November. Mr. Evans came tonight. So again, this reinforces our belief that they are both excellent candidates. And it was a tough, tough decision to make a recommendation. And we can go into detail why we did that or not.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to support the recommendation by the Library Board of Trustees for Mercedes Kiss.
Oh, second that.
Any discussion?
I think we all vote.
We do.
You vote too.
So you'll
The-
vote too.
Madam Chair, yeah, madam, it's a roll call vote
Oh, it's a roll call vote.
of both, so it'll be all eight.
Okay.
Right.
So the motion is in favor of appointing Mercedes Kiss to the vacant library trustee position. Do you want to start?
Sean Kerrigan, aye.
Julie Bruce, aye.
Matt Kobesai.
Mary Dickard, aye.
Gloria Parkinson, aye.
Jacqueline McGuire, aye.
You have to just say your name and that you vote yes.
Bernie Shiana, so yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
That's okay.
Francisco Ramos, yes.
Okay. That is a unanimous vote. So thank you, Ms. Kiss, for offering to.
Thank you for your
Here.
time tonight.
There
We have to send her a letter and then she's sworn in.
Okay.
So she'll
So-
have to see the town clerk.
Thank you.
We'll send instructions for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a liquor license transfer, public hearing. The select board has received an application for the transfer of ownership for Liberty Tavern, Inc. to Hometown Tavern, Inc. for the retail all alcohol restaurant license, doing business as Hometown Tavern, with Paula Weaver as the new proposed manager of record for the premises located at 301 High Street in Clinton. Hello.
Good evening, Madam
Could,
Chair.
could everyone state their name and address, please?
Attorney Paul Demoga, I represent the applicant.
Daniel Weaver, 400 Green Street.
Paula Weaver, 400 Green Street.
Great. So, any more context you want to provide? before
Sure.
Open the hearing?
As you know, this is an application for the transfer of an all alcohol on premises license from Tees Tavern to the applicant, which is a corporation, Hometown Tavern 01510 Inc. There's only one stockholder, and therefore, and she's also she will also be the manager. Her name is Paula Weaver, that you just met here. There are several other family members who are officers and directors, but still one stockholder. So Paula would be the manager. She plans to be present around 40 hours a week, mostly weekends and evenings. The premises are leased. There's a 5-year initial term with 2 5-year options. And it's for the first floor of 301 High Street, which consists of about 2,500 square feet, plus a basement storage area. It's an asset purchase. The terms are cash. There's no pledge of the assets or the license. The purchase price comes from a home equity line of credit from a family member. And the plan is to maintain the premises as they are now, a neighborhood bar, with catering hopefully to local residents, assisting mostly of older clientele. Ms. Weaver is here to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions from the board? Yeah, initially.
You're gonna run it the same, the pool, you have the pool tables and.
Yeah, our plan, sorry, my voice,
No,
yeah.
okay.
Our plan initially will be, once we switch hands, we plan to renovate and then still have the 2 pool tables back in and then potentially move the bar back up where it initially was back in the day.
Mhm.
And run it as it is now,
Mhm.
essentially, but hopefully with new people
Mhm.
and a new theme, new excitement, and I'm kind of excited to do it. It's fun.
Is this your first venture?
Yeah, I I have been working in the law field for 20 years, so this is something totally brand new for me, and my family, my kids are involved, and my mom and dad as well, so we're all trying for it.
I hope something that's successful for you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions before we open the hearing? Okay. Given this is a public hearing, I will open it up for anyone here to speak in favor of the license transfer. I'll close this portion of the hearing. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this transfer? I'll close this portion of the hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the license from Tees Liberty Tavern Incorporated to Hometown Tavern Incorporated, doing business as Hometown Tavern.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. The motion's passed.
Good luck.
Transfers.
Thank you so much.
Sorry. The next on the agenda is pole installation public hearing. The select board has received a request from National Grid for the installation of a utility pole on Allen Street, approximately 0 feet from the northwest center line of the intersection of High Street, Allen Street, and continuing approximately 325 feet in northwest direction. You're from National Grid?
Yeah,
right?
hi,
You've seen
my
it
name's
before?
Javier Morales.
Yeah.
As you described, I'm here to request the approval of that pole installation.
Okay.
This pole will be required to service a new customer at that address.
Any questions before we open up the hearing? Okay. Given this is a public hearing, is anyone here in to speak in favor of the pole installation? I'll close up. It is going in the northwest, it is in to the utility pole on Allen Street, approximately 0 feet of the northwest center line of the intersection of High Street and Allen Street.
It's 11 Allen Street is the address.
11 Allen
Yeah.
Street. Thank you.
It's a joint. 11 Allen Street.
Yep.
Is going to be a double.
No, this is a brand new pole location.
There's just something
It's
here
not a
about
replacement.
joint or identical pole locations.
It's J.O. Pole. The telephone company is there, so they would be forced to attach to the new pole. But it's a brand new pole location. There will be no double pole.
Thank you.
I just want
lost
to
track.
point of clarification. So it says High Street and Allen Street, 325 feet, correct? Right? That's the,
Yeah, that's it. The pole location is roughly 320 feet from the intersection of High Street and Allen Street.
so 11 Allen Street is showing directly across from the Veterans of Foreign Wars,
I'm not really sure what's over on the other side of the road.
which is closer to the Main Street side. So is this for,
I don't think that's accurate.
just going by Google?
Yeah,
Because it looks, so is this for the new metal building?
yeah, there's
Right behind.
four bay garage going in.
All right, so.
Okay.
It's closer to High Street. It's not towards Main
Yeah.
Street.
Right.
The building.
know what
So
you're
you
looking at.
have, there's 136 Allen Street is across the street, 128 Allen Street. Does that sound familiar?
126.
126, okay, so you have
we're right across the street.
one down. Okay, so it wouldn't be 11, 11
Oh, did I
Allen
give
is
you
on the
wrong
other side of
address?
Main
I
Street.
might have given you the wrong address.
That's okay, that's all right, just
Yeah.
to be clear, so.
There should be a sketch attached to the petition.
Yeah.
I believe.
Does show it closer to Main Street.
Yeah,
Well,
that Main
this
Street
is
there?
Allen Street, right?
Yeah, that's Worcester Street, yeah,
And this is High Street.
yeah. So it would
And
be,
this is the 4 bay garage. This is
Main
down
Street's
down
right.
street, is down here.
Not a problem. I can't tell.
that's way down, yeah.
This is, Main Street would be down here.
Okay, so it's basically, if you're facing 126 and 128,
thank you.
it's gonna be closer to 128, by about
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
estimation by like a third of that property line on the side of the street of 129.
This is it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, which would be, it's directly in front of the new building.
Okay, yeah, that's what okay. I'm sorry, it's a hearing. I'm sorry, yeah, you're out of order.
Well, he
Or-
can speak against.
Well,
it,
right,
but-
when we get to that portion of the hearing, you can come up and state your name. Which I think we've closed, people who are speaking in favor of. Yeah, it will close that portion of the hearing. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this? Anybody?
Well, no, I wanted clarification as to where it was because the, information that was out was basically near our house and I wanted to make sure.
so the pole is being located on the side of the road. There are no residential homes.
Okay.
It's opposite from where the houses are located.
Okay,
It's directly next to the driveway, the new driveway that's gonna serve 129 Allen Street and the garage being built.
Okay.
It doesn't
So-
affect the homes at all.
Okay, so no one's here in opposition of it, now that we know that it's in front of the business? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the requested location for the pole installation by National Grid on Allen Street.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 4-0. All
That's it?
set, sir.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Which one was the one that was?
So I think this
That,
474 is at first,
okay,
and then the next one is the two
Two and
thousand
one.
water. Then they have a request at the end of the meeting for the late night closing.
oh, okay, and then, okay, thank you.
We can move that over for that.
Yeah. We can. Okay. Next on the agenda is entertainment license public hearing. The select board's received an application for an entertainment license from Zach Schlesinger, doing business as the Melody Maker, to conduct live music and comedy in their restaurant dining room located at 474 Main Street in Clinton. Welcome back.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, I think
Oh, sorry, state your name. Oh, we'll just state your name.
Zach Schlesinger, I'm the Melody Maker.
Okay.
I think it would be fun if we did live comedy. I've talked to the owners of the building and we're going to work together on it. I'm not intending to do like Bon Jovi cover bands or like full stuff like that. There's places in town for that. But like live music, open mics, events like that is what I'm looking to do.
When are you, if I may, Madam Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
When are you planning on doing this, Zach?
Well, I don't know.
Do
I was
you have
gonna
like a time
make sure you
frame?
guys said it was cool first. I'm thinking, I think I could start as early as next month doing some sort of comedy event later on in the month, like Friday night, something like that. I'd give it a shot.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Test the waters. Any questions? Okay, this being a public hearing, I'll open it up to anyone who is in favor of this license. I'll close the portion of that hearing. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this license? I'll close the portion of that hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the application for entertainment from Zach Schlesinger, doing business as the Melody Maker, to conduct live music and live comedy shows at the location 474 Main Street.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 4-0.
Look.
You're all set? Good luck.
Happy holidays.
Thanks.
We have another entertainment license hearing. The select board's received an application for an entertainment license from Priscilla Forteza, doing business as Brazilian Flavor Bakery Restaurant, to conduct live music and karaoke in their restaurant dining room located at 2-4 Water Street in Clinton. How you doing? Can you state your name and address?
Sure, it's Priscilla Forteza, 2 Water Street over here in Clinton, Mass. And
Is that Valerie Gomez?
So you're looking to do some entertainment?
yes, our clients are asking for music now that we have the liquor license. So they've been asking for some music, possibility in the future, karaoke. They even ask for future, maybe some DJ, but that's in the future, not now.
Okay. Any questions for proceed?
So I would just have one question on what would be the requested closing time?
I don't know what is the town allowed us to do it.
I see that some places they open until 1. So that would be the latest we would request, but probably the request would be try to close, make sure everybody's out by 12, so we could close by 1, if it's possible.
Anybody else? Okay, since this is a public hearing, I'll open up this portion of the hearing to anyone who is speaking in favor of this license. Close a portion of this hearing and open it up for anyone who is speaking against this license. Close a portion of that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the live entertainment license for 2-4 Water Street. Priscilla Forteza doing business as Brazilian Flavor Bakery Restaurant.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. I vote aye. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
4-0. All set.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to move out of order on the agenda. I was reading too far ahead. To move up to administrative business for the Brazilian Flavor Bakery Restaurant late night closing request for 2025.
Second.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate it.
Oh, there we go.
So we're gonna,
Oh, one
now
second,
we're gonna
sorry.
talk about this one now. We'll get you both. I,
Now we got to vote on specifically on this
I
one.
mixed up
So,
again there.
yeah, okay. So this is just what we were talking about before, the request to have a late night closing. So on that letter. Okay.
So I have a question for the town administrator. So typically on the late night closing requests, is there do they have to provide a definitive time, or, because I know when we usually do it for the holidays.
Right. Their closing time, according to the regulations, is midnight. So on Saturdays, this extension by the board would give them 1 hour.
1
So
hour.
only till 1 o'clock, as they stated, that's all they'll be open to anyways. I did talk briefly with the police chief about it. They're a new business, so until he has an opportunity to review how they do, he's okay with it to have them give it a try for now. And the board had set a policy, if they asked for at the beginning of the year, they would do it for the whole 2025, subject to review by the police department. So
Okay.
it's only for Saturdays, so all the other dates are all in the regulations, so.
Per the review of the police chief, correct?
Right, yeah, in terms of if there's an issue or a problem, then the chief would
Okay.
bring that to the board's attention, yeah.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Brazilian Flavor Bakery Restaurant late night closing request for 2025 for Saturdays per the police chief's review.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. You're all set. Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate it.
And while we're under administrative business, we will do the raffle.
Sure.
Permit.
All right. The Walter, Ms. O'Malley, VFW Post 523 has submitted an application to renew their raffle permit to raise funds for their organization.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the VFW Post 523 raffle permit renewal request.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Okay. Next up is a commercial garage license public hearing. The select board received an application from Onyx Auto Sales to operate a commercial garage repair business at 291 Berlin Street in Clinton. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes, hi. My name is Bruna Correa and it's 291 Berlin Street.
My name is Alexandre Correia. 291 Berlin Street.
And is this a new permit? Or new
This is
license?
taking over the existing, there's an existing licensed garage and the next is class 2 license. There's an existing at 291 Berlin Street now. They're looking to purchase that, so.
Okay.
Or not purchase it, they're looking to take over business at that location.
Okay. So is it a transfer or no?
We don't do
Okay.
formal transfers, but
Okay.
essentially it's a transfer, but it needs to
In
be
theory,
a new
a new
license
license.
issued to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Any questions before I open the hearing?
I just have one question.
Sure.
Are you looking to sell vehicles?
Yeah, we're gonna sell used vehicles.
How, do you know how many vehicles were approved prior?
6.
Is that 6? Okay.
Okay, since this is a public hearing, I'll open up the hearing for anyone to speak in favor of this license. I'll close the portion of this hearing. Anyone here to speak in opposition? I'll close that portion of the hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the commercial garage repair license request at 291 Berlin Street for Onyx Auto Sales under Alexandra Correa.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 4-0. Okay, and then next we have a class 2 dealer's license public hearing. Select board's received an application from Onyx Auto Sales for a license to operate class 2 vehicle dealer business at 291 Berlin Street in Clinton. And you just stated it's for 6 cars.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Since this is a public hearing, I'll open up the hearing for anyone to speak in favor of this license. I'll close the portion of that here, this hearing. Anyone speaking in opposition? No, I'll close the portion of the hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the class 2 vehicle dealer license at 291 Berlin Street for Onyx Auto Sales doing, Alexandra Correa.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 4-0. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
Good night.
Good luck.
You too. All right, now we have Police Chief Coyne. I thought I could sign Coyne.
Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to follow up and I asked Mr. Ward to be on the agenda, follow up to some of the discussion that was had on your meeting on November 20th about some of the recommendations made by the traffic committee. Some of the recommendations were made by me and discussed as a traffic committee as a whole. I'd just like to follow up on some of that. I didn't have the opportunity to be at that meeting in November. I'd like to talk first about generally about parking situations in the town of Clinton. And just as a general, which includes High Street, which is on the agenda, in the police department, in its capacity with enforcement, I don't think we're ever gonna solve the parking issues in a small New England town with 15,000 plus residents living in 4 square miles. It's my belief that we can only hope to help mitigate and manage the problems. No amount of enforcement absent every member of our community being on board and taking personal responsibility is gonna solve the issues around the town. But we do need to embrace a common sense solution. We need to look at every street, every neighborhood, and every situation independently. Because we can't use I don't believe that we can use a zero tolerance or a cookie cutter approach. That doesn't work for the community that we live in. We need to look at it, and one of the ideas that I had, and speaking to some of the people that made public comment, and it still goes into what I asked to be on the agenda for. like to work with the DPW at first, hearing a lot of things over the last week is, it's a question, what is a sidewalk in the town of Clinton? What is the sidewalk, and does somebody pave it privately? Did the town put it in? We do the best we can with identifying what a sidewalk is, and we went out and enforced, and we did a lot of aggressive enforcement over the last few days. We weren't targeting anybody, we weren't punishing anybody. We never have, our police department, our goal parking issues under me as the chief and under the former chief, I know as lieutenant sergeant and as a patrol officer, we've always, our number one goal is compliance. It always has been. Punishment, revenue streams, etc., has never been a concern of ours. Education, changing behavior, gaining compliance with the parking regulations has always been our number one priority. And I don't feel, I hope that the public doesn't feel that anybody was targeted or things were done or any member of the board. There was aggressive enforcement going on. It was in neighborhoods, it was overnight, it was on sidewalks, it was on overtime parking. There's been a lot of aggressive enforcement over the last few days. And we just want to, what we're trying to do too is we need to work through some of this. And we understand that zero tolerance, like I said, in the cookie cutter approach to every neighborhood, in every front yard, and every sidewalk isn't the same. And we need to address that. And we always have trying to use a common sense approach, you know? In parking enforcement, the most desirable aspect of our, it isn't the most desirable aspect of our job, absolutely isn't. But we understand the safety concerns and the importance and the need for keeping sidewalks, intersections, and the areas around fire hydrants, etc., clear and accessible. We understand the impacts that overtime parking and illegal parking has on the downtown and business throughout our community. We try to do this in a common sense manner. We try to do it with compassion for people and understanding of the situation, and that a lot of single families, double families, and now 3 and 4 families. And we understand that. We always try to take that in consideration. I do want to say one thing too, to piggyback on that and get into what we're talking about specifically with High Street. I want to start the discussion about parking enforcement by saying I'm the chief of police. I've been the chief of police for 3 years in the town of Clinton, and I take full responsibility for any and all of the police department's parking enforcement efforts. Whatever the board or the community feels that there's anything lacking in our efforts or any deficiencies in the way that we enforce parking violations, that's on me. We have a tremendous group of individuals in the police department who are doing incredible work, and I want to assure the board, the members of the community, that each individual officer understands the importance and the impact that parking violations and problems have on our community. The officers work within their authority to try to manage, mitigate, and resolve parking problems as best they can. If there's any blame or anybody thinks there are deficiencies, me as a chief, it's my job to ensure that the officers have the support, the direction, the tools, and the resources to perform their duties properly and effectively. That's the most important thing that I want to say to the board as we go forward and talk about some of the downtown issues. That being said, I'd also like to address some of the comments made by the board. Keeping in mind that that the ultimate responsibility falls on me during the November 20th meeting about our enforcement of traffic violations in the downtown area and during winter storms. Some of the comments were not received very well by the members of the Clinton Police Department, and some of the comments highlighted that the current system works, we just need enforcement, and the public safety people need to do their job. Comments were a little surprising come from the board. There's always been very supportive of me as the police chief and of our entire department and the work that the officers here do. I was disappointed the comments were made in the way that they were, and I don't think it was fair to make a blanket statement that public safety people need to do their jobs. I just hope that we have, I wish that I had been invited to attend and participate and represent the department if the discussion was going to lead towards enforcement. If the board was going to talk about the recommendations made by the traffic committee and it was going to lead to the enforcement efforts of the police department, I wish I'd been involved in those conversations here. There's been a number of, I know one of the, issues that the board discussed was, under my recommendation to the traffic committee, a ban on parking on all of High Street during the downtown. that's just one of a few ideas that I proposed over the last few years as police chief, even as police lieutenant to the former police chief, with input from supervisors and officers in the department, with some input from shop owners down there that they're giving to the sergeant and some of the officers walking down on High Street. Over the past couple of years, overnight parking ban in downtown, and that's not a new idea to me. When I first proposed that, I talked to a select board member, Mark Ellsworthy. He owned the Gale House Grill downtown. And I looked and I said, see all those cars across the street, Mark? And at the time we had a winter parking ban that didn't allow anybody to park on High Street all night. I said, those cars are not there overnight. Those cars are in back. They have adequate parking back there. There's no reason for them to be out here. The officers are telling me now that they've been going by, there's 35 to 45 cars a night in the downtown area on High Street. So that was an idea that I had that and I'm not trying to, none of these ideas that I have are to take responsibility away from myself as a police chief or the officers on the beat that are charged to enforce these parking violations. It's tools, ideas, open discussion, start the conversation about maybe the way we have it works with increased enforcement. Maybe there's other ideas, maybe there's other things we could do. I've also talked about the winter parking ban and modifying it, maybe because I know there are changes in weather patterns, maybe make it January and February. We talked about off-street, odd side of the street, even side, different ideas we brought up to see what we can do and get the cars off the road. Because it's not on the agenda, unfortunately, the way I wrote the letter to Mr. Ward, but there's a whole conversation to be had about the only enforcement action the police have for winter parking is during a winter storm. During a blizzard, the only action we have is to go out in the middle of a blizzard, identify the cars that are a problem. The DPW has the authority to tow the cars. We assist, and the tow operator only can tow so many cars a storm. We tow up to 3, 4, 5 cars a storm sometimes. And we try to identify the worst ones through the DPW. We work with them. We communicate with them before the storm. We communicate with them during the storm. We have a great relationship with the DPW. We communicate with them when they clear High Street. We go down, we run plates, we identify cars that are there, we post things for them, and we work well together with that. But we can only, but that's the only action we have. And the tow operators asked us this year, coming into the winter, to please have an officer with them, which we try to do as long as we don't get another call. Because he's had people come out and threaten him when they hear the tow truck in front of their house, they come running out and start yelling at the tow truck operator. So he can only tow so many cars in the winter storm. We can only identify so many cars. So, and that's our only action that we can take. We can't do anything preliminary before the storm. We can't do anything after except try to get education. We share all the messaging, social media. We blanketed cars with a warning and bright colored. We do it on a photocopier, pink or yellow or green, and we've highlighted that and the blinking light. We try to educate people on that, but that's off to another thing. We've suggested 15-minute parking in some areas of the downtown. We've suggested more signage in the downtown, including some large signs coming in on Water Street and on Union, maybe welcome to downtown. The 2-hour parking is in effect. No stupid U-turns in the middle of the road. I don't know how we word that nicely. And some of the other things, and just as proposals and things in suggestions to work with the board. And this isn't a police department issue. This is a board issue. This is a DPW issue. This is a community-wide issue. This is a business issue that we'd like to work with. Not to say, hey, we're going to ban everybody on High Street. Now we don't have to do anything. That's not our intention. Our intention is to come up with some ideas and maybe make things a little bit better for everybody. I had discussion with Mr. Ward, and I'm going to present it with my budget this year. And I don't know if the board here will support me with the finance committee. I'm going to propose that that we fund a parking enforcement clerk. I've spoke to some other communities. The town of Hudson has a part-time 19-hour a week, up to 19 hours a week person. They pay them a certain amount of money. They go out, and their only responsibility, in their case, it's a retired police officer, and they go out and they enforce. They have a vibrant downtown. It was the first community that I thought to see, because I've been downtown Hudson and seen the 2-hour parking. They've also changed the hours from 2 hours to 3 hours. So that's another idea that we had that could be looked at. Certain areas of High Street, maybe it could be 3 hours. If they, you know, somebody who's getting their hair done or somebody eating lunch or whatever. But then there's other areas where people go into a convenience store where it should be 15 minutes maybe. So those are some ideas. It isn't, I didn't just come up with, hey, let's ban all the parking on High Street overnight. Because that'll stop us from having to go down there and write tickets. But these are some suggestions that we work with. I've also like to do, and I don't know how the board feels about it or how, what the legalities or logistics are. Maybe have a joint traffic committee, select board meeting, invite some of the businesses from High Street, invite some of the Chamber of Commerce, we'll go down and get the messaging out. Invite some of the property managers down there and have conversations rather than they told us they'd like this, they told us they'd like that. We think, I always said as police chief, and this is where communities don't like the police, when you make decisions for them, what's best for them. I'd like to get as much input as we can from the community and let's cut out the middleman. Let's cut out the community said, the business said we need this and we need that. And maybe we can get some solutions that way to what we're talking about downtown and all of us get on the same page and be, cause we all want the same things and everybody knows that. Everybody knows we are on the same page. Our officers know that. I know you guys are passionate about it and certainly the business owners, their livelihood depends upon it. So those are some of the things. In addition, over the years, we've always worked with other town departments and town offices. We've reached out and spoke to vendors. I've spoke to a number of vendors and had some Zoom demos over the last few years and explored some of the new technologies and plate readers. We had somebody come out with plate readers. Plate readers don't work with 2-hour parking because you need to buy a separate software system that they work with. They work with meters or permitted parking, and they'll read the plates who didn't pay the meter, or they'll read the plate that didn't pay for a permit in a beach parking lot. So that system wouldn't work in our place. There's some other ones, and they're very expensive, and they all start out with, we're gonna make enough money for you to pay for this, chief. I said, that's not our intention. We're not looking to pay for the system and make money. We're looking to get compliance and get the streets clear. So that's one of the things that I've looked at and they're very pricey and they don't necessarily, there's also units with a spy eye that goes around and that's for bus stops and no parking zones. And there's all types of different technology out there. It's very expensive and I don't think it really works for the 2-hour parking. Meters have been talked about over the years, and I know there's a lot of opposition to meters. Meters are different now. You can scan a credit card. There's a box that you can do meters. There's apps. That's something to explore. Maybe we sit down with the board and the traffic committee and some other stakeholders along with the business owners and come up with some sections of town that may apply to.
Yeah.
And may not apply to. So in addition to some of those ideas, I've done that over the last few years. When I became chief, I set up a meeting with our supervisors in the DPW. We hashed out a lot of things about the winter parking ban and parking ban around. That was with Chris McGowan. The supervisors joined me in a parking committee meeting with Phil Duffy years back, a couple of years ago, 2022. And we listened to some of the things and we had a little bit of input. And I think it was good for the sergeants because a lot of times I go to traffic committee meeting, I go to a lot of meetings and I try to bring it back to the police department. But I want us all on the same page and I try to include them as much as I can in as many things as I can. We create and share messaging on social media like I talked about. We blanket the town with warnings. We've had many internal discussions with the police department and the supervisors. Sergeant Jeffrey does a great job. He meets with the business owners down on High Street during the day shift. He's in charge of the day shift, constant communication with DPW director and all that. There's something I want to read too, and I think it's perfect if you'll indulge me for just a couple of minutes. This is from the parking study, and I think this sums up the way I feel and the way a lot of officers feel about ticketing and enforcement efforts in our campaign. This is from the study that the town had done in 2017. It says, currently, the town of Clinton provides only active enforcement, i.e. patrolling and ticketing, to ensure users comply with posted time limits. This is a common format for smaller municipalities which do not want to create a barrier to downtown access or commerce by charging for parking. The distraction of this format is that it's labor intensive and it places the town in an adversarial position with downtown merchants, tenants, property owners, employees, residents, and visitors. Succinctly put, if the town is diligent in their efforts to enforce, they are perceived as predatory and opportunistic. If they are laxed, they are perceived as being ineffective and blasé. That sums up. I always say a parking ticket is a 50-50. If you write it, somebody hates you. If you don't write it, somebody hates you. Somebody's gonna be mad at you either way, and we're used to that, and unfortunately, a lot of decisions we make as police officers, we don't make people very happy with them. But at the same time, we want to be community friendly, we want to be out there, we want to garner support in partnership with the community. At the same time, we don't want to hammer people with parking tickets. We understand the importance of it, but we want to balance too. So that's one of the things. I don't know how much more I have, and if you guys have any questions or anything, I know the Church Street lot we've talked about too. That's one thing I want to talk about. Chris McGowan was big on this. I don't know where we could go with this later, but he talked of filling in behind where the superintendent's office is, and that would create more parking spots. Because to tell people to go down the Church Street parking lot, they work at the bank and everything when school's in session is a hard one. And if these businesses open at the Old Timer and the bank and the Strand, we're gonna need to utilize some of these areas for parking. The winter parking, we have sidewalk enforcement around town. And we do need to look at some of the things, because I hear and we hear the input coming back from our ticketing going on around town, that we really need to identify what a sidewalk is and do some better job with that. Traffic committee, common sense, community-wide approach, that's all I'm asking for. And I wish I'd been in on the conversation, and I respect and appreciate Julie taking the recommendations from the traffic committee to the board. I just want to make sure that, because I recommend them personally as the chief of police, that I had a little bit of feedback afterwards.
No, thanks for coming in and letting us know, and apologies if I didn't communicate it well enough to have it received, but while you're talking, I do think it's very nuanced, and I think you're right on a lot of points. So, do you think the next step is for us to kind of really kind of lay out all the issues in the traffic committee? Like, we talk about, we talk about here, the business owners, like you said, and then kind of like start to make a plan in terms, like you said, like gathering input from citizens, from the Chamber of Commerce, from the businesses, and start to really kind of get that in.
Like I said,
Because
we get information from a business owner, you get information.
Yeah.
You meet with the traffic committee, we bring it to the rest of you. I think there's some things lost in translation too.
For sure.
Hopefully, if we all get together in the same room and we identify what the problems are, we
Yeah.
can attack those first off and then go from there. And then maybe we can include some ideas that people have and say, wow, I didn't think of it that way. And maybe this section we could put in 15 minutes, and maybe there is some different solutions. And High Street is its own, isn't a cookie cutter either. There's different sections of High Street, and different businesses have people coming and going. Some businesses have people staying longer. So maybe we could approach it that way.
Yeah. When was the parking study done?
2017.
Yeah. I mean, even 7, am I doing math right? 8 years ago. There's all the technology has changed, a lot has changed. So it's certainly worth, I think it's something this community, especially, you make an excellent point of the population in the very compact. And also too, I personally walked from my home to my dad's home. It was at 4 p.m. in the dark, and I was in and out of the streets on the sidewalks, because people were parked in the sidewalk, so I couldn't walk on the
tree there, and then the sidewalk continues.
Yeah, exactly. So there are certainly like safety issues, I think, relevant to it. So I think you're right.
And some landlords or residents, I don't know if they got permission, but they just paid
Lived
it
over.
and made it
Yeah.
parking, so.
Yeah, because we have unique issues, but I think that we certainly let you ask your question, but
And nothing against studies have their place, but nothing, in my own personal opinion, nothing beats a group of people who really affected by it rather than paying a group of people to come into our town.
Yeah, I
Nothing
think
beats having a group of people from our own community and hear firsthand what some of their ideas and some of their concerns are and
Yeah.
addressing it head on that way.
Yeah, we're not always the keeper of great ideas, so open to
Absolutely.
suggestions from
Absolutely.
anyone.
So Madam Chair, a
Yes.
couple things. So, Mr. Kerrigan and I, we both are on the snow removal committee. We've met for several years trying to address various issues related to snow removal and pedestrian safety as well as parking. And to be clear, nobody is pushing an agenda to encourage or force the police department to write tickets. That's
No.
unequivocally false. Okay. It's, you know, another piece of it is we've taken input from the superintendent of public works. This isn't the select board is not making any decisions in a silo, right? We've spent a lot of time trying to just look at different communities, what they do, how things are. And, you know, I think it's unfair to paint Mr. Kerrigan with the brush that this is his doing, because it's not. This has been going on long before. We've been on the select board, and unfortunately, it's probably going to go on long after we're off the select board. So when in looking at different parts of the town, you know, you can point to neighborhoods like the Grove Street area with Nashua Street. You can point to Pearl Street. Those areas are severely congested. And I personally, I think our zoning laws need to be reviewed, because if it only requires 1.25 parking spaces per unit, as one person that spoke earlier mentioned, they have the number of units, they just don't have the off-street parking. So unfortunately, that's a whole other discussion to have. We've tried to really come up with ideas for educating the public on the municipal lots. And I know that the blue light is not it's not a popular method. And just from my own experience, having lived in Salem, Massachusetts, they were using the blue light special when I was up there 20 years ago, and it works. And I've had challenges with the way that we implement it, which I think when that blue light goes on, it's pretty much 12 to 6, I think is how it is.
Exactly.
I've been advocating to turn that blue light on whenever, you know, we should be able to declare when there's a snow emergency anytime, and at least the public's aware that.
I've had confusion on that myself. I called DPW and
100%.
said the storm started, and I was told, no, it's at midnight. I said, well, it's snowing now at 8 p.m.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think it's something we should look at, because at least then it gives the public an opportunity proactively to make any you know, necessary accommodations. And you know, the hope was to eventually get to a point where if we inform the public ahead of time, here are municipal lots you can go to, for the residents who have more vehicles than spacing allows, then maybe they could bring some of those extra vehicles to the municipal lot. It then provides them off-street parking. When the storm's over and the snow removal has completed, then those vehicles can go back. It allows the DPW to do their job safely. We forego this whole, you know, the issue of too many vehicles in the street and then people getting parking tickets.
What the sidewalk does too, and some of the residents have voiced of concerns, and I think a perfect example of it is down by the car wash on Main Street. And those sidewalks do need to be clear. Those are Main Street. Those are highly traveled sidewalks for people walking, jogging, and people in wheelchairs, strollers, whatever. But then we created the cars being on the road, and then we received complaints from the cars parking on the street. So we solved the problem and almost created another one in reverse. And it's hard to tell those people because they literally have barely a driveway for a car. And if they own 2 cars in those houses down there, there's not a lot of room for them to go otherwise. And we kicked them off the sidewalk, and we should have, because those are heavily traveled. Those aren't some side street, dead end street. Those are heavily traveled throughways. But that's the nature of the community we live in. If you're not going to be on the sidewalk in a lot of these areas around town, you're going to be in the roadway.
You know, I look at, as you mentioned, right in the very beginning of defining where a sidewalk begins, where it ends. You know, as the public had made their comments and just looking at different addresses that people had spoke about, you can see where there is confusion because it looks like there is a sidewalk and then it's paved and then there's the continuation. So I wholeheartedly agree about trying to come up with a solution, whether it's defining it so people have adequate spacing to park and pedestrians have a path to travel safely. But I mean, that's, you know, I think we should meet sooner than later.
Yeah.
And
I wholeheartedly am of the belief that we're never going to solve the problem, but we do need to mitigate and manage it, and we do need, and our enforcement efforts need to maintain. We go out and enforce, and then kind of let back because the problem's kind of resolving. But as soon as we do that, the problem comes back. So we need to do that, but working with education and people, and we talk about the blue light, and we talk about this. If you have a phone and you have a computer and you have a TV, it's going to snow. Please get off the road. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
All we're asking is
It's
just,
somewhat more like
we could
community.
put a blue light in every street corner and you still just get off the road. If it's
Yeah.
gonna snow, please just get the public that's
It's-
watching, please just get off the road.
Yeah,
when
it's
gonna
somewhat
snow.
of a community pride thing, you know,
Yeah.
neighbors helping neighbors. And I think you're right. Like, I do think people get blind to
Yeah.
this notification that, you know, it is, you mean, maybe it is more of just like the culture of this town. How can we?
And
start
sometimes
to
it's not
shift that?
just the snow, it's the ice as well. And
Yeah.
Any winter storm that you think is coming or is forecasted to come, just find a spot off the roadway. And when we had a complete winter ban, we used discretion, you know, when during a storm, we kind of, you know, let it go. The car's off the road, it'll come off the sidewalk or come off wherever it is. And after that, and we use common sense and we made it work. And that's all we're asking people, find a spot.
you know, and even looking at High Street, you know, those, the apartments that are on High Street, there is off-street parking for those units, whether it's a sufficient amount is probably another discussion, but you know, to be supplementing the parking using High Street, it creates challenges for the DPW, whether it's snow removal or whether it's you know, doing any cleanup. And you know, the community just invested almost $4 million down there, and you know, it's hard to maintain that because of having 30 to 40 vehicles parking overnight. And I don't think that downtown should necessarily have to supplement the parking. If there's off-street parking, you know, I've been in support of the High Street ban. And I think people need to park where the lot is. And then, as Chiefs mentioned, using discretion for any late night vehicles that are there, to not encourage people to drive home being intoxicated. They're using common sense. So you know, but either way.
Yeah. So I think we've got some work to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Chief, I just want to say, I think you know that downtown is it's a passion project.
No,
and I
absolutely.
get emotional sometimes to a fault. I didn't mean any disrespect to the department.
No, I appreciate it.
I just,
Thank you.
my thing is,
we didn't target the town to say Sean Kerrigan did this, and I apologize if it came off that way. We did increase our enforcement efforts after some things, and I want to ensure that the officers are supported by me, that wasn't directed towards them. If there is deficiencies, it's me, and I'm sitting here, and I'd like to, if you guys call me, I'll be at the meeting. I'll kind of give you my side of where we're coming from and support that.
Yeah, I'm fully in favor of getting together
Yeah.
a super committee. Just for the record, though,
Thank you.
I know that this is a dense town, small town. It's one of the things that makes it special, and I would love nothing more than everyone to be able to park in front of their house. However, I think what also makes it special is that people are able to walk from their house to their dad's house, or to walk to school, or to walk to the supermarket. And I think a lot of those people, like you said before, you are pushing a stroller, or kids, or in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And frankly, if it comes to a tie between a car in front of a house and someone using the sidewalk, I'm gonna go with the sidewalk every time. And
Yeah.
it might not be popular with everybody, but I think I've been well on the record as far as that
Yeah.
goes. So.
And just so, not to keep beating it, but our guys aren't, I don't want to go down and do that. I think it's more what the study says. It's a,
Drag.
it's
I get
an
it.
unwanted task. It's an unwanted task because we know who we're ticketing and we don't want to do it. And we know we have to do it, and we do a lot of things that are undesirable, unfortunately, in our job, and that's one of them. But we know the importance of it. And I think if we know the clear-cut guidelines and what we're doing and why we're doing it, I think that in that we have the support of you and the community and the business owners, and that would really help out too, to why we're doing it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you-
I appreciate it.
Do
I
you
do
wanna
have
talk
another
about
item.
hiring?
I'm next.
But you're.
I'm next. Thank you.
Keep it rolling. Keep rolling.
Oh, hi.
Hiring process.
Never, you guys are ready?
Ready.
Yes.
The next one is we left civil service officially in July. We want to start moving the process and looking at hiring. And we'd like to hammer out the hiring process and what we need to do. And Mr. Ward was talking with the Nick Asantopoulos and what we need to do to get out of civil service, whether it be write a formal letter or how we need to do that. But we want to make sure that we have a process in place before that. And you and Mr. Ward as the appointing authority, obviously, we're going to work. We brought it up at the negotiations, and I've already had discussions and talked to the union about the promotional process, because they're involved in that, and we're going to get input. And we're all on the same page because we're all working for the same goal. We want a fair process, and we want the best candidates promoted. We want the people the most deserving. So we're working together, and we're not the first department to leave civil service, so we're kind of stealing some ideas from other communities and making phone calls to chiefs and figuring out what those systems are and bringing all that information together to come up with a system that we think is good and present and work with the board and the appointing authority for our next promotions. We don't foresee one now, but that doesn't mean somebody in a couple weeks is going to leave us, and we need that in place as well as soon as we can. But I really want to get the hiring process, which is outside of the union because it's the entry level. And there's a couple different things that I want to talk about. Just got off the phone with the lieutenant today from Marlboro, who's been out of the process for quite a while, and they've worked with some of the neighboring communities, Hudson, some other communities, to provide input and guidance on how they do it. There's vendors out there, and I have pricing from 3 different vendors that are the most popular and most widely used in the state of Massachusetts that provide a written test. And that written test, unlike civil service, would be provided by the private vendor, but it would be more of a pass-fail, and just to get to the next step in the process. Marlboro has since gotten rid of that part of the process because they've seen their candidate pool, their interest in the job go down. I don't know where we'll be with that because we're testing the waters for the first time here. And I have seen our civil service list go from hundreds up to a couple dozen people. So there will be some changes with that. But they have a process where they're just applying for a job. They just put out their HR section just puts out mass emails, and the mass chiefs, and there's all kinds of professional organizations that I could put out that the police is looking for a job, and this is what the job is, and this is the opportunity you could have here. And then they collect the resumes, they look them over, who are the qualified applicants. The next step is the physical fitness standards, the Cooper standards, which are the MPTC standards, and Post is talking about implementing. Why they do that next is they found in a lot of departments, from what I hear over the last couple of years, unfortunately, a lot of candidates aren't meeting those physical requirements to enter the academy. So rather than go through an oral board or anything else in the process, they do that immediately after collecting the resumes, and then they go to an oral panel made up of the lieutenant, a captain, and somebody, a patrol officer, a shift sergeant, whoever the department deems. And then the next step in the process, they whittle it down and find the candidates that they like. They present it to the chief, who in our instance would be the chief and the town administrator, and then they interview those candidates. And then the chief and the town administrator kind of get together with the oral board and say, I really like this candidate. I like candidate A and B. And they say, we like candidate A and B too. I like A better. I like A too. So they kind of come up with the hiring process that way. So it kind of changes things from civil service. I like the written test. I don't know what the written test entails. It's not police knowledge. It's kind of problem solving and talking and having demos and Zoom meetings with these companies. It's kind of just generalized. And I don't want to rank, because that's where we got into civil service, where our pool of candidates is all of a sudden down to this. I really want to do a good job with diversifying and representing our community with our next few hires here, and making sure that we get high quality candidates. We had a visit that was great from Anna Maria. They have a pilot program going on with their criminal justice program that they're sponsoring some of the students that they identify in sending them to the police academy. We're gonna get an intern next month who's a Clinton resident, went to Clinton High and everything else. So that's a feeder system. We're in an age where that's what's going on. The Fitchburg State has the program up there, and they said they'll have 12 candidates in the academy, the 5-year after the 4-year degree, and they'll have 40, 50 police departments at a job fair before they graduate, trying to grab all these candidates before. And Quincy does a program, and one of our dispatchers is involved in it now, and they do it in the afternoon. It's from 4 to 10 p.m., I think, Monday through Thursday, and then on Saturday. And they have police departments picking some of those candidates out before they even graduate. So it's a highly competitive process right now, trying to get qualified candidates. But I think we have a good police department, hopefully a good reputation that people will want to come here. We're talking with the union about maybe creating a step for somebody with experience that's post-certified, and that's down the road, but to get some quality candidates that have some experience. We'd still like to get people local, because I think that's the strength of our department, is having people that are local and care about the community. So we'll still encourage that strongly, and hopefully we see a lot of candidates from our own community with qualifications to do the job. So there's a process there. I don't know where you want me to go from here. I can formally put some things in writing, take some policies and procedures from other departments, see what we need to do. I don't know if we want to go ahead. There's a cost associated with some of the one company's Get Badged. There's a cost associated with it. One company, Hand Consulting, is really good. They put on a test, and there's 3 tiers. The town can pay for the whole testing process. The candidate could pay for the whole testing process, or then there's a hybrid where you make it affordable to the candidate and it offsets some of the costs for the town to hold the exam. And I think in this atmosphere, if you start charging $150, $200, you're gonna whittle down your pool too, and that's not what we want to do. We want to keep the pool of candidates. But if we went to just accepting resumes and applications and kind of go on that process, and this isn't in stone, this is a process that we can try to identify and see the number of candidates we get and go from there. Marlboro said they've been very successful with it. They've got some good candidates. They've had some things to say about some of the testing. They use a company that isn't in business anymore, so I'm not bad mouthing anybody that I've talked to or got quotes and demos from. But they said they have had some problems with that, and because the pool of candidates went down, they thought it was manageable enough to just collect all those applications and resumes, like most jobs, and go from there. Look at the qualifications, talk to the people, then bring it to another second interview and go from there. And with the physical fitness standards too, that would allow some of the candidates as well. If we have 10 good candidates and 3 of them or 4 of them don't meet the physical fitness standards, then you're interviewing 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So we just want some direction with that, and if you guys could give me direction and from Mr. Ward, and we can forge ahead with that, so we can start thinking about getting some, getting our numbers back up. Because we do have an open position, and
You do.
I've
You do.
kind of been waiting for the whole
Okay.
civil service thing to unwind here
Okay.
and see where we're at.
How long does it take to get out, sorry,
No, go ahead.
when we formally request to get out of civil service, does that happen right then,
I
or?
think right away, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can do that now. And as the chief indicated, Labor Council's looking into that process. But the civil service reform just recently passed. So now we know what's out there. I think what the next step is if the chief could put together a proposal for the board to review. And then, like I said, that can always be amended. We'll get, we'll definitely give copies to the union for their review and their input. But I think that would get the process started to have something in writing, so.
Yeah, even the union with the hiring process, the promotional, they're gonna want to be involved because of any changing conditions for the promotional process, and we will, and we want to do that. And I want them involved because they're the union members. I'm reached my peak. So the officers underneath are gonna be going for promotion, and we want the people who deserve it to get the jobs. We want a fair process, and we all want it. So.
Oh, Madam Chairman, I
Yeah.
just to try to conclude this, I mean, I think that you've brought up a lot of points, and obviously you've done a lot of work on this, or, know what
Yeah.
other communities are doing, so I think I'd like to see the board give the directive to the chief to,
Yeah.
as the administrator said, write something up and, run it by and go with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
See how
can
it
give a
works. I mean,
couple options.
It's the
and how-
first time, so it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you have nothing to really base it on other than the expertise of communities that have done it,
Yeah.
but I think you're on
Yeah,
the right track
Yeah.
yeah.
to get the ball rolling, so that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would, if you want to present a couple options.
Yes,
But
that's what-
ultimately, whatever your recommendation is, then I would like that to be clear, or the collective recommendation
Yep.
by the department.
And the beauty of any option is getting out of civil services. You call this company, they'll advertise and they'll have this test and they'll have results immediately.
Yeah.
And you start the second step of the process, and we could have somebody hired within a couple of weeks, couple of months,
Yeah.
rather than a year or a year and a half.
Yeah.
And especially if we get somebody with some experience, we could get them on board and get them trained real quick with the town of Clinton and then get them working.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being so thoughtful and thorough.
No, thank you very much. I
Mm.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A nice Christmas.
The Gales one now, I gotta check my.
I don't know. Yeah. I made it to halftime. All right, next up, we have the Community and Economic Development Director, Phil Duffy. Some updates.
Yes.
Thank you.
Recommendation. Good evening, everyone. Phil Duffy, Community and Economic Development Director, here on two matters. The first of which is a recommendation for award from the ARPA Growth and Recovery Program. You may recall that was a program established by the board with $150,000 funding targeted towards what the U.S. Department of Treasury called affected industries, hospitality, tourism, travel, tourism, and hospitality that were deemed to have been disproportionately affected by COVID. The intent of the program was to leverage private investment, enable private investment in businesses within affected industries that wanted to make alterations or expansion of their premises to be better suited to face either the economic or public health challenges posed by COVID and continued post-COVID world. So I have a recommendation for two awards for two projects that are proposed for downtown. The first is an award of $42,650 to Ciccone Family Fitness. Ciccone Family Fitness, as a gym fitness center, was severely impacted by COVID. It has recovered since. It has cultivated a new clientele. And in order to better ensure the economic prospects of the business, they're proposing to redo their changing rooms and hygiene areas. The total project cost is $85,300, proposing to match that with a 50% grant of $42,650. The second recommended award is an award of $46,700 to Clinton's Bar and Grill, which is planning to expand dramatically in downtown and relocate. This would be to provide for outdoor dining on publicly owned property adjacent to the public way, privately owned property adjacent to the public way. This is a project, I've spoken with the owner, they're looking to move forward. Substantial investment in the downtown, substantial investment in the property. And this would be to provide for outdoor seating, use specifically recognized in Department of Treasury guidance as a COVID strategy. And the project is looking to begin implementation in the second half of 2025, completion, 9 to 12 months later. So these are two projects, one of which will begin immediately, the other which will begin in 2025, making a recommendation for 50% awards to enable these projects to move.
Go ahead.
So for the Clinton Bar and Grill, I'm trying to envision what you're referring to.
You say they're moving?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
They're
they're
moving?
moving.
Yes,
No.
that is their plan, yes.
To where?
To another location on High Street. I'm not sure that I can disclose the actual location.
Okay, so then
And this is part of,
I'm just, I don't understand where the private property adjacent to the public sidewalks.
like they have now, like
Yes,
in a different location.
it's a different location.
I think we're looking for the footprint. It's hard for me to sign off on money if I don't know what this project's gonna be. I guess it's.
Originally, I thought you were talking next to Abishon.
I know, or I thought I was thinking like.
I mean, there's only a few
alley in the
places,
back.
so.
Like disclose information. It's
Yeah.
private negotiations, but this is an elevation of the building. This is Treasury.
Okay.
Building the sidewalks are approximately 16 to 22 feet deep, and actually roughly 1/2 or 2/3 of the sidewalk is actually building.
What do you know? I think
This is sidewalk.
So they're being continues maintaining about 8 to 12 feet of sidewalk on the streets, but this is actually private.
And what's required by
44.
44 inch. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Here, take it, Mary. I'd like to see just.
So this is the proposed section right here.
Yes, this is an elevation of the building. So this is one street elevation. That's the High Street elevation. This is a plan.
Thank you.
all right. All right, so Phil, one of these is using the similar model to the Strand Theater. And then the other is that just gonna be a traditional?
In terms of the conveyance of award funding, it
Yeah.
would be the same as the Strand where the owner would submit.
Both of them?
Invoice
Oh,
approved for
okay.
payment and then would be reimbursed.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion. I mean, we can always discuss it under.
Yeah, under the motion. Yeah.
I'll make a motion. Let's start with motion one. I make a motion that the select board approve $42,650 to Chaconi Family Fitness Center to undertake renovations and expansion of changing rooms and hygiene facilities.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions?
Okay, so at the very bottom, that applies to both.
Yes.
Okay, understood. I didn't know if it was a continuation of the second one. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, 4-0.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that the select board approve award of $46,700 to Clinton's Bar and Grill for provision of outdoor seating.
Second.
Any discussion?
So will this, is this, this is 100% happening? This isn't like
Maybe.
if a move did not take place?
If a move did not take place, then a portion of that would not be used as a portion of that for a fixed structure to provide cover. That wouldn't be an opportunity at their existing location, although the furnishings and associated chairs and that kind of thing could be, so it would be a reduced award. That said, I've been in continuous conversation with the owner. I feel highly confident
Yeah.
that it is moving forward. A purchase and order is in place. And I've checked in with them repeatedly during the process.
Because the only reason I ask is there a way that we can ensure whether it happens or doesn't happen that that money is going to be able to be used and not clawed back? Right?
Yes, yes, provided that within the agreement that will be in place for December 31st, there's provision to amend that agreement.
Okay.
Yes, I would think so. I'd have to defer to council afterwards, as we finalize that draft, but I would think so. Now, the opportunity may not come because it's a matching fund program. The owner would still otherwise have to make an investment to enable or trigger the release of public funds.
Am I confusing you?
Well, I reviewed it. I can't find the other, but I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Okay, well, thank you. I look forward to that work taking place over the next. Well, one will initiate again immediately, the other ideally will be done within about 18 months. Okay, second matter is an update on 329 High Street and 172 Sterling Street. And honestly, never could have had a better week to give an update on those two projects because we've received very encouraging news within the last 8 days on both. Perfect. Starting with 329 High Street, what I have here is the closure report that was submitted on the town's behalf by Parker Environmental Services. It's the final report on Jean's Towing. It is what is called a permanent solution with no conditions. That means that this piece of property relative to DEP jurisdiction is like any other property. There will be no recording of use or limitations, the activity or use limitations on the property. There's no additional monitoring or testing or reporting or remediation that's out of the ordinary that's required on this site. As I mentioned in my memo, when we began this process of doing environmental assessments on the property in 2017, I would not have conceived that this would be the outcome. So extraordinarily happy. That means our next step is to figure out the instruments that we will use to make this property. My recommendation will be that we develop the instruments that would make this property available for transfer to another owner. And that included in my memo is a draft evaluated criteria for an RFP that we prepared back in 2021. My office, including Lee, will work on drafting an RFP. We'll be consulting with council moving forward. Normally when we dispose of property, it's by auction. I don't know that we've done an RFP before. Mass Development has real estate services that assist communities in that, but we want to make sure that on the legal side, we're doing everything correctly. On the community side, it is for the board to whatever body it chooses, whether it be subcommittee or the board, to basically sign off, to devise and sign off on what we will be asking of people who are seeking to acquire this property. And again, there's a draft there before you from before. There's a number of things we may want to consider, including the track record of the proponent Do we know that they have the resources available to address remaining site conditions? Do we know that they have a history, a track record of running a successful business? What kind of business is it? What kind of opportunity may it provide to adjacent businesses? What is the effect on, what do we think of the effects of their proposed work will be on the visuals of downtown? Those would be mine to start. Price could also be one of those. Speaking personally, it wouldn't be my first priority, but now we have the opportunity to dispose of this property. We've signed it off with a clean bill of health, and I would not have considered that as a possibility 7 or 8 years ago. So, credit to Mass Development, to former Rep. Naughton, who got us in here, Mark, and the team of licensed site professionals who helped us in this. This is right now, I mean, we still have to get over the finish line, but this has been a very successful project. And even though it's taken us 8 years to get this far, that's Usain Bolt speed in the world of environmental cleanup. So very gratifying. Concerning 172 Sturman Street, you may recall that we applied for funding from 3 separate pools of money to address the debris pile that remains at 172 Sturman Street. I mentioned to you, I think, a couple months ago that we were too successful. We received funding from all 3 sources for the same scope of work. In short, the EPA Emergency Removal Action Program slid in first, and they are going to do that work. I received an email just this afternoon that work will begin on January 6th. They expect to be in the field for 8 to 10 days of work and maybe 1 to 2 days of demobilization after that. So the work is under contract. It's scheduled. The debris pile should be gone by the middle of January. We also received word, I think on December 10th or 11th, that EPA Region 1 approved our request to amend our scope of work to do other work on the site. And Mass Development similarly agreed. So we'll be using the money that was intended to remove the debris pile to address 3 other contaminated areas on the site. I can go into detail on what that is if you'd like, but that work, we're putting that out to bid for a qualified environmental professional in January. Once we have that person on board, we'll have an idea of what the timeline will be for the removal actions. I can't speak with any expertise on what the timelines are like. I do know our grants have deadlines. So, but that work, once it's under contract, we'll have an idea of what the timeline will be moving forward. But we will address 3 of the 4 remaining areas of contamination on the site. At that point, it would be my recommendation, absent any new information, that at that point we make the site available. Basically, the climb to address that 4th area of contamination is just profound. It's not undoable, but it would mean holding on to the property for probably another many years. And it may be time, it may be time to release it. We've worked with BSC and Mass Development to do site analyses that aren't environmental but are physical. So how do you lay out a site? How do you develop a site if you say these areas we're not going to put a shovel in the ground over here? So we have an idea of what the yield could be on that property. I'm satisfied with it, and at that point we may just want to put it out through the same RFP process and with the same consideration given to what our criteria for evaluation would be. I haven't looked at those in detail. That's a process where I think we should get the input of a number of people prior to putting it out.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I know that Mass Development had done 3 different projects, showing what
That's
they
the one.
envisioned.
Yep.
And I thought they did a really great job. I mean,
That's the
so-
project I'm talking about.
yeah, so I mean, obviously, their vision was that, I mean, you could really develop that quite well. I mean, and
Yep.
that, construct buildings, have sufficient parking. My question is, when you were talking about the extra money that they're, allowing us to use to clean up the lot, are you targeting, would it be that, are you going towards the area where the zinc is? Or are you?
We're not going to the area where the zinc is because the cost of that is just prohibitive.
Okay.
It's effectively probably about a $2 million job. And since most of the grant programs have $500,000 limits,
Limits, yeah,
$250,000
okay.
limits, it would just take many rounds
Okay.
to achieve complete remediation.
Yep.
We have data on the, from what I understand of that zinc, it's subsurface, it's stable, it's sitting 7 feet above the water table. It's not it's not a contaminant that's soluble underwater, those kinds of things. So it should be, based on the feedback I've gotten from qualified people, it's okay to leave it covered. We could put in a better cap that would cost about $1 million, but we also could leave that to a successive user if that's what they wanted to do. The 3 areas that we'll be addressing will be in the front of the site, in the back of the site, and in the middle of the site.
Okay.
There's some chlorinated volatile organic compounds at the back of the site. There's some arsenic at the front of the site along Stone Street, and there's a small area of nickel and chromium in the middle of the site. And we should have adequate funds to address all 3 based on a preliminary estimate that we had Parker Environmental Services.
Oh, great. Super.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I think that has been sitting there for so long, and it really is just an eyesore and really an important part of town.
It's also our largest developable industrial
Yeah,
zone site.
I mean, it's
So-
amazing. I mean, because I've walked that site, it's amazing. The amount of property that's on there. I mean, it's one big.
It's just under
It's at
8.
almost 9 acres, isn't it?
Well, now, after having been subdivided, it's just under 8.
Okay.
The parcel was created, parceled out where there's currently a dumpster business. I'm drawing a total blank on Dozen Whitaker's business, but yeah.
Pleasant View.
Pleasant View, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's my update.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great news.
Yeah. When Mike said he received a call asking for an update, I'm like, couldn't be a better one.
Yeah.
That's great.
Was out there in the universe.
Nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thanks.
the update.
Thank you.
Oh, Phil?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Secret plans.
right.
All right. Annual license renewals.
Can
I
we have to go,
feel like last year we did them in a batch.
so like just like all liquor license, whatever's listed?
Right.
Just-
Yeah.
yeah.
Just one note, Madam Chair, the 2
Yeah.
in red towards the bottom are not seeking renewal of their license, so those will be turned back to the town. Roberta Hill Market on Main Street and King's Bar Beer and Wine on Sterling Street. So those are 2 just beer and wine package licenses that will turn back. And I believe we already have one anyways. That's probably our least desirable license at this point is the beer and wine package. So a couple more of those will be coming back to the town. The ones we really are looking for are more of the all alcohol pouring licenses. So.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I know in the past, we've tried to make sure that no one's in arrears as far as taxes or fees, fines, or anything. Is everybody paid up?
We haven't checked that, but we definitely can make that subject to your motion. Absolutely.
Okay.
Great.
Yep. So.
Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
Just before we start on it, can we defer on the class 2 and class 3 motor vehicle? I did request to be on the committee for the year on the licenses, the issues. There's a moratorium for a year. And the board is just, or the committee is just getting formulated. And there's been some questions about some of the licenses and not adhering to request. And they're supposed to every year show how many cars they've sold and to who. And right now there is an issue and a problem with that. They were here, some of the owners of those businesses not adhering to it. So
Okay.
I think the committee is trying to put it all together and look at it. So could we defer that to perhaps the next weekend? The next meeting, rather, excuse me, on the 8th of
Yeah,
January?
does that impact their business operation.
Yeah, maybe you could just do a temporary 30-day or something, because I think, I'll ask.
Well, maybe we
Mr.
could-
Solicitor, if by January 1, the license expires, they probably won't be able to operate between January 1 and January 8th. So it could be a 30-day approval until the board gets to meet the next meeting.
Does that give you enough? Just 30 days?
Yeah, I think we could, yeah.
I think for the
yeah,
used car dealers, they wanted
just
to
don't think
defer
we'd have time.
annual approvals until the next.
No, I
meeting.
agree with you.
But they
Yeah.
expire
I
December
don't want-
31st, so. Yeah.
So what was the rationale? What?
Well, there's a moratorium on the class 2 licenses, okay? Right, and so there was a committee to be formed to look at the new regulations and stuff. And talking to the building inspector who keeps all of the information, every year they're supposed to file a report of how many licenses, who they, sold it to and all that stuff. That there is an issue with a lot of them not adhering to it. I think of the list, there was only like 3 that have done it. And so it's something that the committee, I know the chairman of the building committee, planning board is on it. Building inspector, I volunteered, and I forgot who the other one was, but there is the committee, and we hope to meet and go over a lot of these issues, and hopefully I could come back to the board with a report on where we are before they, or in this case, if we can do a 30-day license.
Well, I mean,
License.
there are option, I guess you could issue the licenses and then you have the authority, if they're non-compliant, call them back in
Yeah.
and have a hearing. And if they don't comply, you can pull the licenses.
Yeah, but if we did it then you're going individually, and there's quite a few. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you did it like a blanket 30-day, I don't know, it just seems like it would be a lot easier than going in individually, going back to each one, but whatever way you recommend.
Well, no, it's up to the board. If the board wants to issue a 30-day license, and then you're going to have to issue so you issue a 1-month license, you're going to have to issue an 11-month before that 30-day one expires, obviously.
So,
Whatever the board.
yeah, I'm just wondering if we approve it and then to set a deadline for them to be in compliance. I do think it might create, that's.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it too. I mean, I don't think there'd be an issue if you issued the 30-day and before the 30-day expired, you then re-upped it. But I'm not sure if you can then, now prior to the end of January, you'd be issuing a license for 11 months. I'm assuming we could do that. I've never done it.
Hmm.
But I would think it's in the board's discretion.
Hmm.
I mean, I would fully support renewal and then in the month
Pull
of
them back.
January, bring
Yeah. Audit.
whoever.
Mhm.
And we can send a warning too. It just says like you're not in compliance. If you are, you need to provide the supporting documents by X date. That might be like the cleaner version of this, but
I mean, you've
it
got,
might solve 2 different
we've
ways
got
to solve it.
at least 30 right now that are,
No,
on the list, and supposedly there's only 3 that have complied, so I mean, there's I don't know.
that's.
I mean, it's a luxury to have one. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be responsible to, and a lot of these are, 25 vehicles, 30 vehicles. A lot of them have licenses for a lot of vehicles, so.
Have they been in compliance for past years?
I
Or
know
they've
that,
just been-
no, some have been very delinquent in the past.
It's not true. Yeah.
Are we planning to look into this, or?
Well, that's part of the discussion, is to look into, how you go forward. I know in the past, and this is years ago, when the town of Clinton had over 50 of these. And we really cleaned it up. And the building inspector had gone around to every single one But you know, there's a lot more to that department. It's a one-person department. And there's a lot of data that you put on the responsibility of their supplying the information that they're required to. And in a lot of cases, it's not happening, so.
Right, I guess, Madam Chair, like, like, it's on us. We're issuing the license, so we should be the ones. I don't think we got a subcommittee to figure out if these people are in compliance or not, right?
Well-
That's on us, right?
But I mean,
Yeah.
there was the issue of the second class, the moratorium, because that's only till the next town meeting. So that's part of what the committee is going to discuss on, and it's just,
But the committee's not gonna be looking into the data that we're missing.
oh, no.
No,
Well,
more future-
they'd be talking about it, but it would come to the board to say, you know, this is what the situation is. I mean, I only got a copy of this list today. Um,
I guess if you know it's an issue, I
And
don't,
the reason was I was just trying to find out when the committee, who was on the committee, when did the committee plan on meeting? So, that's all. I mean, and if the board votes on them, that's fine.
but they're not, the committee's not gonna say that these people aren't in arrears. It's a problem that's not going away.
Oh, God, no.
Okay,
no,
so then
no.
I guess what I'm saying is we don't need to wait to move forward on it if it's an issue. And we don't want to issue these licenses until we clean that up. We just have to figure out how long it's going to take to clean up.
Well, I think that's the issue
Right.
too. Like how, I don't know if they're.
Well, I mean, you
think we
can't
can't really-
arbitrarily tonight just say, well, we're
We're
not
not
gonna
gonna renew
issue
them.
to this one or that
Yeah.
one. You have to,
We don't have the
you know,
information.
you have to get the information.
Right.
So
That's what I'm
that's,
Yeah.
And I would suspect the information that they haven't submitted probably hasn't been submitted for years.
Mhm.
If no one's been looking at it, no one's gone out looking for this information. They're supposed to submit it yearly and said, hey, you didn't submit your 2020 information. Where so again, this is the first I'm hearing of it. So
well, I know the building inspector does go around to every one of these establishments. I mean, he certainly has done his job. Definitely. You know, I'm not saying he hasn't done his job, but if they're not meeting the requirements,
in the due diligence to get our arms around this may take some time. I'm not sure it's going to get resolved in 30 days.
Right.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
So then you're going to continue chasing yourselves. It doesn't mean if you issue the license, you can, notwithstanding the license are issued, do the due diligence. And
Yeah.
you may have to call in different meetings, 20, or send them letters and say, hey, unless you're compliant in this period of time, we are going to call you in a hearing and we're going to pull your license.
sure.
Yeah.
Something
I'm
like
for the
that.
Cleanup effort, but I do think it might be more laborious than we think, so.
I mean,
kind of
Well, it's up to the board what they
Yeah,
wanna do
I'm kind
tonight.
of
If you
for
wanna- if you wanna
renewing
go ahead
them
with the
and then
licenses,
start that
okay.
process of trying.
But I
to
think it's
tighten
something
up the
that,
ship.
that has to be looked into.
Yeah.
I would be
I
in
think
favor
all
of,
the above too.
renewing the license and then, if the committee can get together before we meet on the 8th with like a draft proposal, and the board could approve sending that letter out and say, I would be fine saying by February 1st, if you don't have the necessary documentation, then you're gonna be called in,
Well, let's just say somebody's got a sale of 20 vehicles, okay? And you get the list and you see that, in a year, that person has sold 2 cars. Well, why do they have a license for 20 vehicles? And that's basically how we did clean up the town,
Yeah.
that.
No, I'm for
And it
that.
may be a case where someone has a license for 12 vehicles and they have 20 or 25 cars on their lot every single day. Well,
Mm.
that's a violation of their license.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just
know.
just the time frame of which
Yeah.
the license renewal is up and then that cleanup is.
And it's my understanding that the subcommittee is just to study whether we're going to issue more class 2s, not to go back and police the ones we have. Or like, they're certainly not class 3.
Well, what they're.
It seems like we have 2 problems.
I think the purpose of that subcommittee is as well as on the moratorium is the town doesn't really have a set policy and a lot of towns do. And I think I know I've gotten a couple from different towns on their policies of how they do it. So I think it's really a gathering of information so that, you can actually write up rules and regulations that they have to adhere to be approved, you know, so. Because again, that moratorium is only through the next town meeting.
Yeah.
So, and that's not that far off, so.
Okay.
The information on sales who would they submit, get submitted
That's submitted all to the building
to
inspector.
the building inspector?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
believe me. Yeah. For the building inspector.
Right.
Building.
I mean, once we
Once we
get
get it.
Microsoft 365, then a lot of that could probably just be.
Automated.
But anyways, I don't want to, you know, I'm
No,
fine. I just didn't know how we could handle, you know.
Yeah, no. good
But that's
discussion.
fine.
No, good discussion, but I think I don't wanna kill their livelihood too, so.
So it would be approving the license per being
I mean, I
covered
think,
on all, what's the wording on that?
I'd say taxes, fees, town account, like, they're not in arrears to the town, I guess.
Right.
in taxes. So approval contingent upon
Being in
being
good standing.
in
Good standing.
standing with their
Yeah.
taxes and fees.
Taxes and fees.
Uh,
In any other requirements?
Yeah,
Clinton Hub's still got one, huh?
yeah, I know so too.
All right, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam
Opposed?
Chair,
Yep. Oh,
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve all common victualler license renewals for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license contingent upon, for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fee, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Class 3 motor vehicle dealer license renewals for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the garage and repair license for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to renew the license for automatic amusement for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
All the, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the renewal for the entertainment license for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to renew the jukebox licenses for the 2025 year, contingent upon taxes, fees, and any other requirements being satisfied.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you. Next up, American Rescue Plan Act recommendations. Town Hall floor replacement project.
So, Madam Chair, just to follow up on that, the bids were open today for that project. And the original authorization of 68.9 was just a verbal quote that were a written quote, verbal written quote that we have received, but the actual bid came in at 85,552. So there's a shortfall of 16,652 that there is available allocation in that fund if the board so chooses to approve that bid.
85.
Madam Chair, I'll make
Yeah.
a motion to amend the original request and update it to 85,900, did you say?
85,552.
$85,552 for the town hall flooring replacement project.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0. Okay. Union Street Water Line Project.
All right, Madam Chair, and on this one, we did get recommendation yesterday from the engineer for the low bidder, which was Woodall Construction out of Norfolk, in the amount of $196,749.56. There were two funding sources for this project. One was a state ARPA award that we received for $100,000. Then the previous superintendent of public works had looked at the project, indicated it wasn't going to be enough to complete. So the board, select board authorized another 125. As the bids came in, the bid price and the engineering costs were within that period. However, what the recommendation here for the extra 10,582 would be to accept alternate one. So alternate one was 25,125, and what that would do, as the superintendent of public works had hoped, was as the water line goes up Union Street, it was only going to be replaced with the trench. So for $25,000 for that alternate, it can be a full depth paving of that whole street that goes up. And that way, the whole project then would cover the 135, from 125 to 135, so it'd be short 10,582. So it would get the water line, engineering, and full paving on the road that's dug up.
So what would that new total be?
Then the total of that would be the whole project, it's 135,582 from town
So the
ARPA,
196.
but there's another 100 from state ARPA. So the whole project would be 235,582.
Yeah, there's two funding sources.
And then that would service water pressure for the presentation apartments for a sprinkler system. And the housing authority was getting a grant for that sprinkler system as well too. So that whole project would be done with state and federal money.
They did the lower. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Chestnut, right?
What am I? Oh.
So this is
Making sure
going
that's right.
up towards the St. John's Gym, right?
Right.
Okay,
That's
okay,
Church
right.
Street. Right? Is that what you're thinking?
So presentation on the other
On
side.
the other side.
Yeah,
Right, it's
sorry.
coming up. The
Like the
water
parking
pressure on
lot?
Church Street wasn't enough, so they had to come up.
Does that street go all the way up to the gym? Is that?
Is
Is
that
that-
parking lot?
That's not a street though.
Right, no.
It
yeah.
stops at the top of the
Chestnut.
last house on the left
Yeah.
on Union.
Does it go across Chestnut?
We get an easement from the Diocese of Worcester to go,
Okay.
to go across
Gotcha,
the
okay.
park,
To pave across it.
to put the
The
line.
line in?
Okay,
Gotcha.
that's what.
But it would be, yeah, and a lot of it would be going over ground though,
On
undeveloped
the lawn?
area. Because
Okay,
it goes up to the top, then it goes left.
Right.
And it takes a left over the grassy area. So.
Maps.
I'm trying to keep track of the numbers.
No, you're
I'm so 235,582. So what's the most, what's
It's
the
over
most
here.
it need to be?
135.
That's
35,582.
new allocation.
135.
So look in this spend column, yeah.
Yeah. We-
So
In 125 was already approved by the board, so it's just asking for the
Yeah.
10,000 back.
Is the new allocation.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover it.
all right, so Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to update the Union Street water line project to $135,582.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. leaving us with, I don't know, 13,000.
Right, so then the other project, and the board is gonna be talking about this in executive session, the thought was, the other 30,000 would be adding to the gymnasium lease proposal. The amount of money that was set aside was for 1 year, which would be the calendar year for 2025. But then if it was gonna go beyond that, the town at this upcoming budget would have to appropriate money to continue it into the new, until to 26. So the thought was for half more of that money, it would get the year and a half, the 18 months, so it would cover this, the rest of this fiscal year and the next fiscal year. And then if the board feels that it's worth going forward, then in next year's budget, you can put the money in for 27 to go forward for fiscal 27. But that would be another half, half of what, and that's going to be discussed at the next, at the executive session. So you don't need to approve that right now if the board wants to talk about the lease proposal first.
Yeah.
And if that is approved based on the overage, that's a plus overage on the grant, which the board just approved the grant. So with those approval, it's a 52,225 overage. And then with the other negatives, which would be additional requirements, if all of that is okayed, then the bottom line as of tonight would be 13,069. So then we need to discuss how to allocate that $13,000. So. And if
So
you
we
don't want to do the year and a half, then it would be 43,000. So,
Okay.
so,
So we still like a line item here that's on to be determined, the lease
right.
plus
Mm,
the lease janitor,
mm.
which I guess we can discuss.
Sure. So I think what the
But-
board could do is you could, I mean, generally after executive session, you say the board can adjourn. You can always come back to open session.
Yeah.
So that after that executive, you can then have final discussions on where you want to go from there. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Duffy was here. I think he was just gonna make a pitch if there is any extra money, that there is a mechanism that he has for some downtown projects, if you wanted to do that. I know I sent just some ideas, whether it's putting it for downtown projects or some other, paving or parks and rec programs or other departmental, we can do interagency agreements as long as you spell out what they need to do with the money, and then they have 2 years to spend it. So that's an acceptable obligation as well, too. So if there's another agency that we wanted to say, all right, we'll give it to this agency for X, Y, and Z, we could do that too. So right now it's 13,000 of how to use that 13,000 or potentially 43,000. Or potentially.
I like the idea of the paving personally.
Yeah, I do too. Me too. And I'll tell you why.
How far
You
will
know,
13
it's, there's,
dollars go?
go over some, I mean, even, the smaller streets that, side streets, some of them are so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just always
I mean, no offense,
remember.
not offense to the
DPW.
downtown, but, I just,
So
Find the
we
small.
just come back. to-
Yeah, we can come back.
Let's come back and then. Because then potentially it could be more money
Yeah,
Right.
or less.
yep. Okay. Town administrator report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. A few items that I just want to share with the board. First, last week, I went to the Central Mass Municipal Recycling Council meeting and just wanted to recognize that the town of Clinton received a notice for their appreciation for being a center for hard to recycle materials, a CHARM, they call it, which is providing an opportunity for some of the bulky items that we take here in Clinton that people wouldn't be able to get rid of since the curbside is only for municipal waste, trash bags. So I thought that was a nice recognition. The other recognition they give out are communities that are below certain threshold for reducing solid waste I think it's per person or per household. And we were just above the category where we would get an award. So we've been reducing that, and we're on a good trajectory. Just haven't got enough to be recognized, but we were fairly close. Looking at other communities in the central region that were up much higher. So that's a good thing. So I think that was good. And then following up on that, there was an award that we received yesterday, notice of a recycle dividend program grant funding for $7,200, which can help to support the Recycle Center from Mass DEP. So that's good. That's good too. It's kind of been an annual grant that we've been applying for. Also, I just want to bring to the board's attention too that at town meeting, we had to reissue or reauthorize the home rule petition for additional liquor licenses. That was held, a hearing was held on that by the committee, by the legislative committee on consumer protection and licensure today. They had indicated that they thought they might report the bill today, but I didn't get any message back that there was any action. So hopefully that can move pretty quickly. We have one benefit that our state senator, John Cronin, is chair of that committee. So hopefully he can move it along for us from there. So we'll keep an eye on that and certainly let the board know how that's progressing.
Do they have to refile since it's a new session starting, or it carries over?
I believe that they do 2-year sessions, so I believe that this is the carryover session. So I'll double check on that. So every 2 years they have to take everything and
Right.
refile it all over again. But in the interim session, it will just carry. So I think this is the interim session, but I'll double check.
Did you see an email from Madeline late this afternoon?
Oh, I did. No, I didn't see it. Okay, so they did vote a favorable report from the committee today.
Well, that's
So-
terrific.
So at least it's on the committee now, and now it'll go to the legislature for a vote. So that's good. That's good.
Oh,
thing.
good.
Yep.
Nice.
Excellent. Good.
Great.
Great. And finally, Madam Chair, I just wanted to take a moment, if I could, just to publicly announce that I'll be stepping down from the position of town administrator at the end of my contract term in June of 2025. Next month, I'll have achieved 30 years here in this position in Clinton. I'm very grateful to have served my hometown for that long a period in my whole career. I appreciate support from the select board and all select board members in the past that I've worked with through the years, giving me that opportunity to work here in Clinton. Also, I want to just take a moment to thank all of our dedicated town employees here now and again in the past for all their efforts and hard work, standing side by side with me, providing the vital services to our community. Could never have done it or been successful without all their support along the way. I'll certainly miss their camaraderie, but wish everyone the best and for what the future holds for Clinton and for our town. And I look forward to working with the board through the transition for whatever you need. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well,
Madam Chair, if I.
oh, 1 second. Yeah, well, just thank you on behalf of this board and a grateful town for sure. Not many people can say they've served their hometown for 30 years so successfully. So we are grateful to you. Thank
Right,
you.
thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. It's
If I may, Madam Chair, I'm proud to be able to say, Michael, that I was on the Board of Selectmen that appointed you to the position. And I have to say, off and on, I haven't been the entire time, but for the 26 and a half years that I have served the town, I will say that we have been so lucky to have someone like you who was a Clintonian, who knew the town, came from the State House, knew all of the departments, knew the personnel that was so valuable to this town. And I just have nothing but praise for what you did for the town. And I think in part, what we are today is because of what you did for the town and your position. So
Thank you.
I thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it is always hasn't been easy, but it was always the motivation of working for your hometown that really got you through all the tough days. But then there were a lot of good days and successes and working together to make things happen. So I've been lucky. So I thank you. Thank you very much.
We're gonna have you list all the select board members that you worked for in the 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
The list was
counted them up.
long, I'm sure.
Yeah, like 25 or 30 or so members I think
Yeah.
through the years. But that's another thing here in
Yeah.
Clinton that, again, we're fortunate with the consistency that a lot of times when people do run, they stay on the board for a long time. So even though it's been 30 years for me, I think there are probably about 25 people. It's not like 50, you know,
Right.
you have people that are on for 15, 20 plus years, you know, that serve their town, not just me. A lot of people, a lot of our employees, a lot of our board members as well too. So it's a great town. So we're very lucky. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Leading into old and new business personnel updates discussion. I don't think it's under our jurisdiction, but the senior center council on aging, are they moving forward too?
Right.
They're
Yeah, now
directives.
we're in a good place. We have a human resource manager, so I believe he's been heading up the recruitment efforts for the senior center and working with that board and advertising the position and then setting up some parameters to help them. But yep, so I believe that's moving forward.
Okay. I guess with Michael's announcement, we'll need to make some plans for the search for a new town administrator. For assistant town administrator, I would typically say probably have someone, the town administrator, pick their team, but I think given the circumstances, we might want to move forward with maybe a small search committee for the assistant town administrator to bridge that gap as we transition as well. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that or concerns? No?
I think someone has to think about it.
Yeah. Give it some thought.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be decided right now, but I think prior to Mr. Ward's announcement, you had consulted with someone who has done a search for us in the past, indicating that a town administrator search might be a 7 to 8 month process. So that's kind of what we're looking at for a time frame. So just putting that on your radar. Building commissioner? Where does that stand? Building commissioner?
Building commissioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's back to the situation with the salary in order to
Okay.
recruit the preferred candidate. I know the personnel board was talking about some ideas for salary, but one of the proposals, I think, has some legal challenges that may need town meeting approval. So that's still kind of in limbo right now.
Okay. Do we know if our top candidate has moved on from the position, or is that unknown too?
I haven't heard of
Okay.
that. And I think, I know that our current inspector is in association with him, so I think he would have shared that with me.
Okay.
So I don't believe so, but I don't know that for sure. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so.
And I don't want to put you on the spot about our current person, but they're fine with continuing on with us while we
Right,
continue
yeah,
the
that's,
search.
you know, and our current Jim Salmon's been great. We're again fortunate to have him in that role and and he certainly is committed to the town and helping, you know, as whatever he can. So as of right now, he is still indicated to me that he's willing to stay on as needed. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And treasurer collector, or we have I know Mr. Kittredge is still coming in.
Yeah, he's coming in. I think now we're starting the transition. So he is, the consultant is on board. He's working with, Mr. Kittredge and the consultant are working to clear up fiscal 24 to get that reconciled and closed. And then for July 1 for this fiscal year, the consultant will take that over from there. So the consultant has met with staff, so he'll be available on a daily basis, either by phone, email, or coming in person as needed. The hope is to get the year caught up and get on top of things. And then during that period, he's also doing an evaluation of the office, providing best practices, doing some training recommendations for staff and that type of thing. So he's very excited. Everyone, the staff that's met him have been very impressed with them. So I think we're in a good position there. All the other positions are filled. We have new energetic employees that have been really, excited to learn and take on more duties as well too. So I think with the current team, we're doing good, but certainly not forever. After
Okay.
the holidays, we'll have to take a look and set up a plan of action. And again, with now HR here, to bring him involved and set
Yeah.
up a plan of action after the first of the year.
Okay. Maybe we can work together and kind of maybe just create like some action items for each one, for this new HR manager.
Sure. Yep.
And tackle a few things for us, so that's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank
No,
you.
he's-
Okay.
Can I just ask one thing?
Yes.
Any update on the migration of Microsoft?
Yeah, I don't have a specific date,
Okay.
but again, we're working towards getting that. They've been in, they put all of their software on our network. They've ordered the computers, are coming in just around the holidays. They're gonna stockpile them here at the auditorium and then start pushing them out. The phones are ready to be ordered, but they can't. That's a 2 to 4 week implementation, but they can't put the phones in until the Teams Microsoft environment is put in because it works in conjunction. They all work together. So the piece that we're waiting is just for that email. And I know they have the cloud environment is set up, so that's been set up. It's just getting all their software so that they can read all of our network, all of our machines, so that they can manage that, and then they'll roll out the rest of it. I know the email has been built out. We're just waiting for the green light to actually see it, like start giving accounts to people. So I know there's a lot happening in the back office, and they had some tweaks to our agreement last week. So I'll get an update from them again and see what the actual go live date is, on the email. I mean, I know they're already able to monitor our network, but I'm anxious as to when that 365 is going to go into place. So.
Thank you.
And we did do on the permitting software as well. We finalized that build out. There was staff training on it 2 weeks ago. They're doing one more inspector specific training for what they will do in the field. And once that's completed, we'll then be launching it on the website. So the link is already good to go, but we just haven't published it on the website until the inspectors are able to be comfortable using it in the field. Because then once it goes live, I'm sure we're going to start getting the applications. So people need to know how to use it.
Awesome.
Great. Okay. Any committee reports? Nope. Okay. No community announcements this week. Although I heard the candy cane hunt in Central Park was a success that happened earlier. I don't know who got the golden candy cane, but congrats. All right, so we may or may not come back to open session. So right?
Right.
Back to
Well,
adjourn.
to adjourn
Yeah, definitely
But
for sure
might-
to adjourn, but whether or not there'll be other business, yeah.
is to be determined. Okay. So we will be moving from open session to a closed executive session to discuss.
Madam Chair, so you're gonna leave the meeting open?
I
I
guess
You
it
have to.
depending- yeah.
If the board's gonna go in executive session, there's a chance you may want to come back and need to address something tonight, then we've got to leave it open,
Okay,
just in case.
yeah, for sure.
So, so you can.
So what do I
Take the
need to
roll call vote to go in executive session, but
Okay.
not adjourning the current meeting.
Okay,
Come back in open session, and depending upon what happens in the next session, you may just come back and open and just adjourn at that point. I think you have to leave it open to give yourself that flexibility.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we will now be going into executive session with a roll call vote.
Sean Kerrigan, aye.
Julie Bruce, aye.
Cobus, aye.
Very dick out eye.
You
That's
stated
with the option of that we would possibly come back.
We-
I'll need to-
Yeah,
We will be coming back. in.
okay.
To do.
So yeah, we're moving into an executive session and we'll be returning to open session once that executive session is complete. All right, we're back in open session? Okay,
So with regard to the ARPA funds that are unspent, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we we allocate any remaining ARPA funds to the DPW's road resurfacing budget.
I'll second that.
And just for clarification, that counts as allocating it, like we don't need a contract or anything if it's just an ongoing thing?
No, there is a current contract, paving contract, so we would just need to amend that contract. Or we would have to look at doing an intermunicipal agreement with the DPW and spelling out how it would be used, but we'll look at that process next, so, yep.
Great.
So, but as
Terrific.
long as we get this direction, then we'll look at the next step to allocate it properly according to treasurer.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right, motion to adjourn?
We get a vote.
No, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
The ARPA book is closed. Wow.
Just in the nick of
Plenty
time.
of time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas.